are familiar with him or not, but Michael is a certified teacher and has a master's as a practitioner designation in coaching. And he began his education journey as a private tutor, like many of us, right? And a classroom teacher. And with time, he felt that he could better guide students in a one-on-one or that small group setting. And in 2011, he founded his mentor tutoring company, I Am Success Tutoring. And after 8 years with I Am Success Tutoring, he decided to transition from being the owner of a tutoring company to being a full-time business coach, just like myself. And he established Coach for Tutors for private tutors or a tutor company owners that are eager to learn strategies so that they can grow their tutoring businesses. And Michael is also the author of 2 tutoring business ebooks, woo woo, for those that are looking to launch or scale their tutoring business. So I'm super excited because, you know, we kind of drive in the same lane a little bit now with the people that we reach on out to for our business. And where are you located, Michael?
So I'm located in Toronto, Ontario, in Canada.
Oh, fantastic! So you're a little further north than I am, so you understand what cold weather is all about.
Oh, absolutely. It was minus 20 last week. That was balmy.
Oh my gosh, so crazy! It is. You know, it's insane because we. You know, I don't know about you, but I just like dream of warm weather, and this time of year can be like more depressing than any other time of year because like there's the expectations like that it's going to start to get warmer and then you get snowstorm.
Absolutely. Mother Nature's been playing a lot of games in Toronto the last week and a half. It's been plus 16, then minus 8, then plus 15, then snow. Then it's just been all over the map. And it's like, can we just have something, anything, the sun and 10 degrees, a spring jacket?
Right. I love it. I love it. So he's from Toronto. Those of you guys who are in the U.S., so he's talking Celsius, and he's not talking. He wouldn't put a spring jacket at 10 degrees Fahrenheit, just so that you guys know.
Why not?
Or
No.
maybe, you know what? Maybe he would. We've got people who wear shorts all year long here in the United States. Is this the same where you live too?
Oh, absolutely. There are joggers going through Toronto in December in snow.
With
In
their
shorts.
in shorts. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, like no, I couldn't do that.
Oh,
Everybody's body temperature is completely different. That is for sure.
yeah, I'll step on a treadmill before I do that. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. So let's dive on deep and start talking about some leadership strategies. You've been all over the board with your own experience. When you started tutoring on your own, did you have your own business or were you working for a company?
So when I began tutoring, so I started tutoring in university, and that was a couple private students here and there,
Mm-hmm.
and then worked for another company for a year, started classroom teaching, worked for another company for a year. Once that piece ended, I decided, oh, you know what, I really want to go on my own. I have a philosophy for teaching, and I love it, and I want to give this a go and start my own business.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was exciting, and wow, I was naive. A lot of learning, and we're all lifelong learners as educators, and it was a
Yeah.
huge learning curve once you get into the business side of things, because the education, the teaching side, you feel really comfortable, you're getting comfortable in your own skin with that, and you continue to learn, but you feel really good working with the students. But the business side, if you don't have experience in that, it's so many different things you got to focus on. And really, when you step into starting your own business, you're a leader from day one, and it just grows and evolves from there.
Yeah,
So
it sure does.
So that was definitely a big learning curve. I think the biggest thing for leadership when I started the business, a couple things that were really large is, you really have to focus on what's your vision for your company, and what problem are you solving, and what are you trying to convey to families. And there is a certain element of leadership there, because parents and guardians are going to be trusting you with their VIP. They want to, or
Yeah.
VIP. They want to make sure that you know what you're bringing to the table, and that you can do what you can do for them. And that's really important, to have the leadership and the confidence to be able to convey that, rather than being more tentative about what you offer and how you do things. So it's really about creating that leadership approach when interacting with the families, and having those soft skills when you're working with families right from the start. So as you grow and develop your brand, you really can then begin to take on other tutors and begin to do those things And that's where leadership then goes to that next level.
It does. So let's talk about those soft skills when it comes to leadership. What soft skills do you feel are necessary for an online tutor to have to run an effective business?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Joanne. So in terms of the when you're starting, or if it's just yourself, if you're a solo operation, the soft skills really it revolves around not just how to motivate students and how to talk with parents, but also it's making sure that you have plans in place for policy, supervision, student progress. You make sure that you recognize not just what the clients are wanting, but also what your own value and worth are as well when you're going into the online sphere as well. And leadership also, when you're a solo operation, is making sure that you're pre-planning, you're proactive, you have a pre-plan, you know what you need to do. And for soft skills, you're able to interact in your marketing, in your sales, in all those different areas. You can speak the language of your families. When you start hiring people, that's where it takes on a bunch of extra roles, where when you're hiring, how do you hire? What's your due diligence going to look like for that? When you have soft skills, what type of leadership cap are you going to wear with your different tutors when you're interacting with them, but also when you're the nexus point between them and the client? How is that going to look?
Right, right. Yeah, so it's like now you're like almost like the go between kind of talker between the parent, the tutor. You want to be able to build a team that is loyal to you and the dream and the vision that you're trying to build, and that they also have a certain set of soft skills. So then you also have to be able to teach some of these soft skills to your team as well, I would assume, so that it's not like they're having one experience when they work with you and then they experience something else when they work with a tutor.
Absolutely. And a lot of that, I mean, every tutor is going to be different in terms of, we're all different, but setting up a training protocol, setting up guidance, setting up time like I always believe very much, whether it was online or in brick and mortar, I believe very strongly in the open door policy. Ask any questions you have. Let's go through things. Let's work out these different pieces that are coming up. The biggest, I think, leadership as a tutor owner that you can have that really can come up are when there's a bit of a fracture in the relationship between a tutor and a client. If there's or if there's difficulty there, it's really working on the soft skills of checking in with both parties and seeing how they're doing and what's going on and how can we work together on this, and using a lot of we language. And when you're working with tutors to figure these things out, using a lot of that we language is really important, so that your tutors are not feeling they're being micromanaged or that you're telling them what to do. It's let's facilitate this and let's figure out how we can work together to help you achieve your goal. And if there's professional development that we need to work on, let's work together to help achieve that.
So what does professional development look like when you do start bringing on other tutors into the mix?
Sure thing. So for when I was working with my own company, when we were hiring tutors, we made sure that they had the qualifications and all the things and all those pieces were there. But there might have been areas such as if they want to learn about additional subjects, if they want to learn, we had training in place for just all the different, the policies and procedures. We had training in place for, if you're expanding, we were expanding some of the roles for some of our tutors into lead tutors. Okay, what does a lead tutor look like? How are you going to facilitate talking to the parents? What kind of soft skills do you need with even just email? What's that going to look like, when you're talking with them, or when you're setting up a meeting with a parent and you're running an assessment? What is that going to look like? And how are you going to have those soft skills in place? So how do you talk to parents about their child if they're struggling in a certain area, or if it's a behavioral issue? How do you navigate that using your soft skills and interact with the parents? So we had different sets of soft skills that if a tutor, again, keeping that open door policy with the team, saying, okay, which areas would you like to learn more about?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And having that option available so that they can say, yeah, I'm really struggling with the management of a particular student who has ADHD, for example. I'm not really sure what kind of skills I need. Okay, well, let's run that workshop on that, or here's some resources you can utilize to help you with that. So that's just some things that I found were very effective. We're just keeping that open line of communication open, and like especially if this tutor is really trying to learn certain skills or build on their repertoire, I figure that's okay to do that.
Yeah.
And again, it builds trust and it helps. And the tutor recognizes too, most of the time, that this is a wonderful opportunity, and
Right.
they want to grow. And then that helps breed that, like you were saying before, it fosters that loyalty between both parties instead of an air of distrust or uncertainty. It helps to mold something so that they'll be more inclined to want to continue to work with you because they recognize that you're looking out for their best interests as well as the growth of the company.
Yeah, for sure. Well, back to that beginning tutor, the one who's getting started. They're starting to put some of those pieces in place for their business. Besides the soft skills, are there any other leadership skills that they need to really start honing in on that will help them be successful?
Yeah, so definitely, I mean, other than the soft skills piece and the communications piece, it's really making sure if you're a leader, you have your vision in place, you have goals of what you want to achieve, you have those in place as well. You have a mission for your company, like what is your mission going to be? What does it look like? What is that, envisioning that and putting that out there? What is that going to be? Making sure that you have those different procedures in place as well as a leader, being proactive and having those procedures in place. And as well, when you're working with a client, making sure that you have I guess the mutual understanding of what we're doing to help this student achieve and achieve
Mm-hmm.
best results when working with you. But yeah, the big thing is the vision, goals, mission, and also looking ahead financially as well as a leader and seeing, okay, what can we do financially to build our company? And I find sometimes that sometimes, and I know I struggled with this when I started as well, with new tutors. When you're all really excited and you want to get the word out there, you spend so much on all variety of marketing pieces, or you spend on this and do that, but you don't have a succinct plan and
Right.
something to really focus on towards your goal. So it's important to have that in place. Set your budget, set what you're going to plan. What are you going to do to get your business where it's going to have to go? What's the vision and mission? And have all those pieces lined up. Obviously open for flexibility, but have a plan in place so that you can really have that foundation so you can really grow. And then when you're taking on other tutors, you can lead.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And it's always in a, like, what can I do to be able to grow, be able to maximize what it is that I do without it taking all, obviously, every waking hour. It's almost like I have to, like, almost like one of those skills I need to do is almost like set boundaries, like, what do I want my day to look like, too? Because, when you work for a job, like you're working a teaching job, you have your day set for you. You have to get there at a certain time. A lot of times you don't leave at the time that they say you can leave. You stay longer than that, but you kind of have like your parameters kind of set for you. As an online tutor, we can either way exceed those parameters or way underestimate what those parameters should be. And so I think those are kind of some things too, like that time management balance, which like how do I handle my time, how do I organize, and how do I focus on the most important things that I need to focus on. I don't know if you found this, but I find a lot of people, they focus on not the income producing activities.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly it, Joanne. And I think and a lot of those non-income producing activities can be automated.
Yeah.
Having an automation system or organizational system is really important, especially when you start off before you're really growing and expanding. It's good to have that in place so that it takes care of a lot of those pieces. So you're not spending so much time on the pieces in your business that are not going to help you grow your business.
Exactly.
100%. Agreed. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I see like invoicing as one of those, right? We can automate the invoicing piece. Like you're not going to make more money by sitting there and sending out individual invoices to people and then having to send them additional ones when they don't pay on time. Like putting in a system like Tutorbird or PayPal AutoPay or Stripe AutoPay. Those are going to
Yeah,
be
etc. Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, those
Mhm.
will be amazing. So those are some really important things. We got some awesome people joining us in here today. We got Magnolia Beauty, welcome. We got Shama Tuition in here. Beth is in the house. So welcome, you guys. Feel free if you have any questions. I see Maria is in the house. If you guys have any questions about leadership skills that you need to make sure that you're honing and perfecting and getting better at so that you can have a successful online tutoring business, please feel free to add those questions below and we will add them on into our conversation. So as we begin to build now, you've built this you've got all those pieces in place for your own business, and now you're adding on. You're like, now it's time to start adding on. Do you find that it takes more time or less time once you start adding on more tutors?
So I think at the beginning, when you start adding tutors, you do spend a lot of time initially on getting those systems in place,
Mm-hmm.
and then hiring tutors, and your priorities shift to,
Mm-hmm.
in that role. So that's why we were saying it's very important to have a foundation, an automated, semi-automated foundational system in place before you start hiring tutors, because that piece is really going to take up a little more time. And you can
Yeah.
automate. You can have, like, for example, I used Trello with a few years back. I was using Trello, so everything was in one place for all the tutors. Everything was just in one system and all organized. That's important to have something like that in place, because otherwise, when I started hiring tutors, years back, getting texts, getting emails, getting texts, getting emails, and trying to keep track of, a parent's asking about this tutor, and that's on text message, and this is on email. You're gonna go insane with all these different things coming up. So it's important
Yes.
to find a succinct system, and letting the tutors, let the tutors in and let them know right away that this is the system we use, whatever it is, Trello, Tutor, whatever you decide to use. Say, this is the system we use. Get them logged in, and have the parents logged in if that's accessible for a certain system as well. It's all in one place, and that keeps the whole thread of communication nice and simple. Everything's there, and you can breathe a lot easier, because again, then you're not working on your business. And the times when that will take up a little more of your time is really some of the more conflict management pieces
Mm-hmm.
that might come up, or if there's a situation where a tutor is having some difficulty with, just maybe a tutor is not quite the right fit, and there might be some things that might occur. So there could be some things that occur there, and that's where, again, you're honing your soft skills, utilizing your conversation and communication skills to try to help this tutor, try to understand what the family's concerns are, and seeing if you can course correct. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
where, yeah, so a lot of it is problem solving with the tutors. That's going to be one of the biggest pieces, but a lot of tutors are going to be mostly autonomous and do quite
Yeah.
well on their own.
Yeah.
And you have to build that trust, because if you micromanage, you're going to alienate.
And I think that's so important to know, is that those that are trying to micromanage, not only are you going to drive yourself crazy, you're going to drive the tutors that you work with crazy as well. And so that is, a huge piece of that leadership that needs to begin to take place. Get them to a point where they can be autonomous and they can be able to do what they are meant to do. And then you can continue to work on getting them clients so that they, continue to want to stay with you, and they're making the amount of money that they want to or need to be able to make. We have a question from Natalie, and you kind of touched on this a little bit. She said, when do you know it's time to hire more tutors? So first, you need to make sure you have those systems in place for you, right? Like, you have all those pieces in place, because I hear so many people that are like, yeah, I want to start this business where, like, I tutor and I have other tutors underneath me, but they want to start with the end
Mm-hmm.
in the first position. So I think, and knowing Natalie, she has those beginning pieces in place, and now she's wondering, when should I start hiring other tutors? So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, first off, hello, Natalie. And, a few good points. That's a great question. A few points to consider is looking at, okay, so the clients are coming in, look at your budget, see, like, okay, are more people going to be coming in? Do I have the budget to afford the tutor? So take a look at your budget and see, okay, what do I have in my budget to bring on bringing on your first tutor? And see, do I have the training piece in place, the hiring, do I have some of those pieces in place that I'm ready to bring on a tutor? And the third one would be, I mean, this is kind of a chicken and the egg situation, but do I have enough students to offer this tutor?
Right.
But what you could always do is, like, is hire the tutor as an independent contractor. If you're seeing a consistent flow of students coming in, that should be fine, and you should be able to bring that tutor somebody shortly. But it's good to have one tutor or even two tutors that are hired if you have the budget for it, you see the projections that clients are going to be coming on. Have a couple independent contractors ready, so you can train them while you're bringing on the new students, getting all those pieces done. And then when the new student signs up, you have the amazing tutor ready, and it's a smooth transition, and things are ready to go.
Yeah. It's almost like you spend that time, that the first couple of months, really just making sure that they have all the pieces in place, that they know how to log into whatever system that it is that you have. They know how to like look at that calendar, know what students they have. They know how to communicate, find out the goals of each of the students that they're going to be working with, and just making sure that they, when they get on, they feel like, yes, I'm ready for this. Because you're going to have both kinds of tutors. I think you're going to have some tutors that are, they haven't tutored online before, that you're going to need to train and how to tutor, and then you're going to have tutors that they have been working with some people a little bit online, but maybe they don't necessarily have all the best systems in place, or they need a little bit more oomph to be able to guide them and help them.
Yeah, and it might not hurt as well, Natalie, and thank you, Joanne, actually for bringing that up. Like having even just a short, as part of the training, a little bit about Zoom or whatever system you're using online. Yeah, like you said, the training systems, the online systems, Zoom as well. Just giving them some different pointers about here's some additional things you can do for Zoom. For just different features you can use to really capitalize on it to make the online learning experience optimal for both you, or for both your tutor and your student.
Mm-hmm. And I would think, do you have like, did you do online when you had your business, or was it like an in-person center?
So it was 1/3 at the brick and mortar, 1/3 in home, 1/3 online. So it was
Okay.
about even split there.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like when it comes to like Zoom and things, do you purchase their Zoom account, or is it something that they purchase on their own as a part of their own business expenses?
Right. So for us, because we didn't have too many, like we had a third, we provided the Zoom account for the tutors because there were a couple tutors, so we were fine doing that for them.
Yeah. So that's something to think about, is like what resources do they need in order to be successful? Which ones are you going to provide for them so that they have those pieces in there? And that all works on into to the budget as well. So,
Absolutely.
and Natalie said, thank you. Great advice. So
Oh, I'm Natalie.
I love it. And you have a new book that's going to be coming out in April?
Yes, the end of April, 50 leadership case studies for tutors. So that's going to be coming out at the end of April. It's going to be a split 25 client-based case studies, 25 tutor management case studies, and then some open-ended bonus case studies for tutors to help them with navigating leadership of your tutoring company.
I love it. That is fantastic. And I love how you're taking a look at specific case studies, and where these leadership strategies worked and how they worked, and that is fantastic. So you guys keep your eye out for that book, and I'll probably be sending you a link in the email when Michael lets me know. I'll let you know that the book is out and it's ready for you guys to purchase or pre-purchase whenever he is ready for that. So yeah, this is fantastic. And I know that lots of us, we think about all the different ways that we can grow our business, and there's so many things that we can do, right? We can start off with our business with it just being one-on-one, and then we can develop courses, or we can keep the one-on-one and then start adding some tutors, or we can keep the one-on-one, we can start selling like different products and these kinds of things that bring people in, or we can start one-on-one and move to group. There are so many options, you guys, with your tutoring business that allow you to be able to make more money. And I think this is what I absolutely love about the tutoring world, is that as a teacher, my income was capped. Like the school district decided how much money I'd be able to make, and there was a number that this is the most I will ever make. And I have completely exceeded that, and I'm sure you have as well, Michael, with your tutoring business. And I think it's so cool that tutors, or even teachers who are watching this, that are interested in adding tutoring into the mix, that you guys know that when you start doing this, your income is no longer capped. You don't have to work more hours all of the time in order to make more money. You may have to work more hours in the beginning, getting things set up so that they run automatically, for it to go easier down the road. But there's so many opportunities. What do you think about that, Michael?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like I mean, sky's the limit. I mean,
Yeah.
and you really get to focus on the students, and that was my passion really for going into tutoring. Transitioning out of the classroom into tutoring was really just seeing that one-on-one or two-on-one or whatever, just having that individual connection with families and students, and seeing the growth, and then also the monetary gain as well was wonderful. It
Yeah.
was a wonderful addition too, to not be capped and told this is your worth. It's like,
Yeah.
well, let's flip that around, because I think as teachers, and this is, I think, a point that a lot of tutors at the beginning of their tutoring careers might find, that they struggle with, because teaching is a very giving profession, and it's such an undervalued profession, financially, among other areas. And I think that tutors often feel, I know myself, I felt this, I would charge very low because I felt, well, that's what teachers make, so that's what I make. And you recognize, well, no, you can do more for yourself. You can say, I'm worth this, I'm worth it, and this is the value I provide. And you can still maintain wonderful relationships with families. They will, they won't bat an eye if you assert that this is the value for the wonderful journey we're going to go on.
Right, exactly.
And I think, and it's saying that's okay, because sometimes it's very hard for teachers when we step into the tutoring sphere to be like, well, I guess I'll charge this much because that's kind of what I'd make as a teacher, or less even, because it's only one kid versus a big group of kids.
Right.
And it's just recognizing, no, you have a worth and you have a value, and you're creating a program that's going to be a catalyst for learning. Sky's the limit. Do what's going to be best for you.
Yeah. I this weird number just came to my head when you said that this is what I'm going to charge because I'm working only with one student versus 30 students. So like the average teacher's making $30-$40 an hour, right? They're getting paid like $1 an hour per student.
Yeah. And
that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, and that does not have to be our story, right, as tutors.
Exactly. And I mean, I know when I started, like, years ago when I was a classroom teacher, I think once I added in travel time, everything else, it was like $9 an hour per day, and divide that among all your students. And it's just, it's a very difficult profession, and those who stay in it, like, hats off. Like, it's incredible to have that ability.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely takes a special person who can be able to walk through and be able to handle a lot of the things that are going on in the school system, but know that you don't have to stay stuck there. I think a lot of people think that the security is a false security that's there. I don't know about you, but I felt like every single day that I went into the school system that I felt like I could lose my job. Like, oh my gosh, if I do this, I could lose my job. Or if I do that, I could lose my job. Or if I look at a kid wrong, I could lose my job. Or if I if somebody says I inappropriately touch them, I could lose my job. Like, I always had this fear that I could lose my job, even though I had the security, right? Like I had, the insurance, and I had, benefits and these kinds of things. But I have stepped away from that false security, and now I'm making 4 times more what I was making in the school system. So, we have to be careful of thinking that that's why we're going to stay there, because it's a false sense of security, guys. And you got to take what your gut tells you is going to be the best next move.
Yeah. And if you mind, I would like to add as well that I think that, and thankfully this is shifting and has been on shift for a while, but I speak to anybody in the education sphere, there was a misconception. And I really felt it, Joanne, especially when I started tutoring again, going into tutoring, that I was somehow a failed teacher because I didn't make it in the school system, or I didn't stay in the school system. I stayed a couple of years, and you're a failed teacher, so now you're back to tutoring. And it's like, no, tutoring is such a force. It's a global force, and it's so powerful. And just so for your audience, just never feel like you're a second-class citizen or a second-class educator because you're a tutor. You are a phenom. You're making a difference in children's lives every day. You're doing it on your terms.
Exactly.
Hats off to you.
Yeah. And it is a scary journey to start, but it is I fell in love with teaching again. Yeah. Like when I first started the whole teaching world, I was really excited, and I would have all these creative ideas that would come through me. But then as time went on, my creative ideas kind of got shot down by other teachers and school administrators and those kinds of things. And here I get to allow that creativity to blossom again and be present for each of my students that I get to work with. And I fell in love with teaching because of that. again. And so, there's just, it's just amazing. And so never, like you're saying, don't devalue yourself because you're a tutor. Like as a teacher, we put a lot of credibility in all of the education that we have gotten to be where we are, right? And then when we hear our other friends going on into tutoring, like, oh, they're just a tutor now, hey, that is not the case at all whatsoever. A tutor is bringing as much, if not more, value to each of the students that they have the opportunity to work with. So great words of wisdom there. Thank you so much for sharing that. Beth is like, yes. And Magnolia Beauty, she's like, tutoring gives you freedom. It does. It does give you this whole new world of freedom where it's like you can teach when you want to teach. You can work with who you want to work with. And you don't have to be given, the kids that are the highest strugglers or the worst behaved because you're the best at doing that, right? You can really take on who you feel is going to be a good fit for you. And I think that that's the beauty of it. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you guys want to be able to learn more about Michael, you can go to his website, coachfortutors.com. You can also connect with Michael on LinkedIn. Just type in Michael Gibben and you will find him. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And today is actually the day where we start opening our Jumpstart doors. So, those of you guys that have heard about Jumpstart and you're like, well, what is that? Just tag Beth or myself and we'll give you some more information. But this is an entire, like, this is so exciting to be in this place and this space right now, you guys, right before summer, to get your tutoring business up and going if you haven't, or to take your tutoring business to the next level, right? We can only take ourselves so far. And if we just listen to other people and we stay coachable, whether you're working with somebody like Michael, or you're working with somebody like me and my team, you have that ability to take wherever you're at and bring it to the next skill. So take it to the next level. So thanks again, Michael, for joining us today. And thank you guys for joining us and listening. Enjoy the rest of your day.